Here we are. We have a little bit of an issue with getting everybody on screen. All
That's
right.
a problem when you've been in quarantine too long.
It's a problem when you're the one operating the streaming and the one that's coming on camera. But anyway, so everybody that's watching us, welcome. This is the first live stream for this channel, and I'm Mauricio Longo, as you can see on the screen. I have next to me, not that side, Christopher Hopper, and this is easy.
Not fair. Well, I can just go like this, and
David Seaman is below us. So we're here to talk about science fiction today, and science fiction in general, and more specifically about Ruins of the Galaxy, the series that you created and you co-write with Jay and Cheney, right?
He did.
So, welcome, guys. Thanks for joining me here for this first live stream.
Hey, it's great to be here, Mauricio. Thanks for the invite.
Well, I've been wanting to do this for quite a while. I've been running a YouTube channel on the exponential evolution of technology and how it impacts our lives in Portuguese for almost a year and a half now. And I've been wanting to do something in the sci-fi realm for a while. And it took me a while to start, but then again, we're at this point in time where everybody's inside, everybody's staying in their places, and I thought, well, this might be a nice time to start. I mean, it's got to be a nice time for something.
That's right. Well, I love it. I mean, I think the idea is fantastic. Obviously, it's a subject near and dear to my heart. I know it's to David's heart, and you're right. There's so many people who can't get out, and we're all kind of stuck inside. I think it's crazy because it's not just something local, like to New York or to North America or to Europe. It's literally everywhere. The whole world.
Yeah, everywhere. You see people in Australia, and you see people in Europe, and down here in South America, and in the US and Canada, or whatever. It's just about everywhere. And if you look at the map, I've been tracking with this map that Microsoft put together on Bing. So they got this bing.com/COVID, and it just everywhere in the world you got this red dots. And you look at the ocean, and these tiny little red dots floating around, and you see it's this island that you never heard about, but they've got it.
Pretty sure I got some red dots somewhere on me.
Well, so long as they're not coming from a laser pointer. So I think I like to start off about our talk today about science fiction by asking you guys, apart from Ruins of the Galaxy, which I'm sure it's our favorite series of all time.
Naturally.
I'll tip you guys later.
What other 21st century science fiction have you guys enjoyed over the past couple of years? I mean, I chose this particular theme, 21st century science fiction, because I talked about this with Chris the other day, that we're kind of in the middle or at the start of a second golden age of science fiction because of what Amazon has made possible, which is for very gifted authors to not be dependent on getting a publisher to actually put their work out, and then having the public judge if it's good or isn't good, because if it sells, then it's good.
True.
So what happened now is that I'm generally speaking a very fast reader, but right now I find myself in this weird situation in which there is more to read than I have time to read, and that was never the case before, I don't know, a couple of years ago. But now there is just so many interesting, great works coming out. So, what can you tell me?
So the question, what has inspired us in the last
Yeah.
20 years here?
No,
David, you should jump in.
So I'm going to actually cover this from a slightly different angle because I think it's interesting, and this is maybe where Christopher and I are a little bit diametrically opposed, because he's definitely brought me more into kind of the space opera, military sci-fi genre, whereas I would say traditionally I've been a bigger fan of like epic sci-fi. So like traditionally you would think that would be like J.R.R. Tolkien, that. But kind of lately, one of the authors I've really been enjoying is a guy by the name of Michael Sullivan, and Michael J. Sullivan, and his books have just been absolutely amazing to me. So the Rhyria Chronicles, just incredibly well written. But again, it's a different genre of sci-fi. But so for me, I think the biggest thing is well, I like all sci-fi across the spectrum, but I'm really drawn into good stories. So, and right now that's it's one of those ones that I've now read through it. I don't know how many times it's not good, kind of a thing. Kind of like Christopher Hopper's series. You just want to keep rereading them. There you go. Here's a shameless plug right there.
Thank you. Thank you.
So,
interesting. I'm looking him up now. I've never heard of him. So shout out to Michael J. Sullivan. Looks like he's got a lot of stuff too.
so.
That's one of the interesting things I think that about this time that we are living in, is that sometimes you find a new author that you really like, and you discover that he's already got like 10 books out, 12 books out.
Yeah, so that's another thing that's and maybe we'll get into this later, that I told Christopher Hopper right when he first started on the Ruins of the Galaxy series, I was like, is he gonna kill me, man? He's like, because I only like buying books that are complete. Like, I am so done with like starting to start a series and then like invariably cliffhanger ending, and I'm like, well, crap, it's gonna be like 6 months before the next one comes out. So I really tried to like buy books that had a complete series, like a start and an end, so that I could binge.
And you're not alone in that. I think there are a lot of people that do look for that and read that way. I think the really cool thing about what you had mentioned, Mauricio, about what Amazon has made available to us is this whole rapid release model. In fact, my partner Jeff Cheney and I were just talking 2 nights ago, and we were discussing the traditional publishing, TradPub, and the limitations that are inherent in that system, and how they wouldn't even know what to do with us today. I've had traditional published deals in the past, and like what you said, David, you had to wait. I mean, 6 months was fast.
Yeah.
12 months was more typical. So you're having a trilogy come out over 3 years. Whereas today, in the rapid release model, we're releasing books every 4 to 6 weeks. And so it really, I think that's created kind of what, again, Mauricio, you were talking about, is this whole, there's more material than I know what to do with. And you're a fast reader. Like, you're one of the fastest readers I know personally. You're probably in the top 10.
I think he even beat me for some of the speed reads.
Yeah, I would agree.
I have one particular record that I'm quite proud of, which was, I think it was Ruins Book 4, that I read the entire book while I was, Christopher was making adjustments. And I was reading chapter after chapter and sending him my remarks, and he was making little adjustments, and I was just kind of reading through the book. I don't even remember that. It was the last night before you turned the book in.
That's right. I want to say that was right around, man, that might have been like the Thanksgiving rush, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe a little before. I don't know. But I think it's important for people watching, too, who might not have picked this up, that both you, David, and you, Mauricio, have been instrumental in being a part of my Alpha Reader group, and that you guys are reading the chapters as I write them before they even go to my editor, which is even before it goes to Jeff, which is before it goes to the beta readers. So literally, like, you're 2 of the first people on the entire planet who get to read. I mean, I I basically write it, send it through Grammarly, and export it to you guys on a Google Doc. So, but that's really important and valuable to me as a writer, because I'm getting immediate feedback from people who I trust, you love the genre, and who are knowledgeable, and you will tell me what you're really thinking. Like, hey, that sucks. And you're not hurt if I disagree, and you're thrilled if I agree. I don't, so that kind of relationship is really, really cool. Again, all of this being possible in this 21st century methodology and paradigm of writing fiction, writing anything for that matter, but for us, science fiction. And so it's just, that could never happen before. Like there was no construct for it, and you just wouldn't think the way that we're thinking. So all that to say, I think it's really apropos that you have this channel and the concept, and you're celebrating it, because it is notable and it's really cool to be a part of.
I think it is just amazing. Like, I don't know if David knows this, but I had never met Christopher before January last year.
Yeah, that's right.
January. Actually, I've never met Christopher at all.
We feel like we've met.
Yeah, we've been chatting for a while, but about be like 16 months ago, I had never met Christopher. I never talked to Christopher, and we kind of met online through Facebook on another reading group. I don't remember which one, and I remember that I started sending him comments on his first Ruins of the Galaxy book, and I would scribble the comments with the Apple Pencil on the iPad over a PDF, yes. And I would send him the scribbled PDF back, and he wouldn't understand my scribbles, which was perfectly fine because my handwriting is terrible. So I would send him the PDF, and he would send me right back a question saying, "What does this mean? Which word is this?"
No, it's true. And that was really cool, because I was at that point just taking comments from anybody who would be my friend. And not to discredit what you said, there's a reason we're still friends. But he would actually send me, like you said, he'd scribble, and probably 80% of them I'd understand, and the other 20% I'd be like, dude, you gotta help a brother out. I don't know what you just said. So
yeah, I definitely had the unfair advantage. Is I've known Christopher, gosh, I don't even know how long we've known each other. It's been a very long time.
It has been a very long time.
So I had an unfair.
I'm going to say almost 20 years.
It's been a while. So we've had lots of crazy adventures, and I even remember his very first books that he was referencing with the publisher. So
yes,
those times they are far behind us, but they're still very present for a lot of traditional writers. When I say traditional, I mean this in no derogatory way. I mean just that they continue to use the traditional model of publishing. Like I love David Weber's books, and I just saw a video in which he was discussing some of his next books, and I was just kind of really disappointed, because he was talking about a book that's going to come out in 2021. And that's a long way now, and you would see that he was talking about a book he's already written. I mean, the book is ready, but it's only going to come out in 2021. So it just kind of blows your mind away that there is so much I wouldn't call it waste, but it's inefficiency in the process.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And there's a lot of people, a lot of writers I know who, if they have a book on their computer, it's burning a hole in their pocket. They better put it out. Like it's not serving the reader. It's not making money. It's not advancing a career. It's not serving people. Like why?
Yeah.
And so I don't know. So sometimes
Well,
every writer has their own reasons. I get it.
no, I'll play the devil's advocate a little bit with that one, right? Because there's the marketing aspect of this too. Like, and I think for new writers, yeah, you're exactly right. Like, it's burning a hole in their pocket. They need to get content out there so they can get recognized. But if you're already nationally syndicated, globally known, right, there's something to be said for maximizing your sales globally, right, across mediums before you release a new one. So it kind of depends, but again, you have to be like that rock star, like uh, top of your game. So
now I'm going to be super cynical and say that those publishing houses are subsidizing their entire operation on those one or two authors, and and those authors are going, you know what? I'll collect $5 million. You want to wait 2 years? Yeah, I'll wait $5 million. But the sad part is, I know guys who are making that much money under the rapid release model and then some, and they get 100% creative control. So I guess, yeah, I mean, I guess it's, what do you want? What are your goals? What floats your boat?
And it's what's about your brand, right? Like, what's ultimately is going to be the best thing for your brand, right?
Right.
So
yeah, the thing that Christopher touched now on creative control, I think it's really significant, because it is something that is changing the dynamic between the author and the reader, because now, the author actually talks to the reader directly, like, we readers.
well, sometimes you're
Granted.
sorry.
Sometimes they just want to be like, whatever, get lost.
But it is, you have these platforms now, like, Facebook, with the Facebook groups. That's actually where we kind of met, and Twitter and all that stuff, and you actually get direct interactions with the reader, so you can have immediate feedback on a much larger scale than just the small group of the, I don't know, 60 or 70 of us.
Well, I'll tell you, it was instrumental for me. By the way, I'm just doing a little bit of some media shout outs here so we can let more people know about the channel. I think that's another advantage of the era that we live in. We have this interconnectedness and this access to video streaming technology. I mean, look what we're doing right now. This is unprecedented in all of human history. I mean, we're talking in the last, I'd say, decade, that it's so ubiquitous. We could say 15 years ago, but tech was pretty laggy and pretty far behind, even though conceptually it was available. But what we're doing right now, I mean, we're connected between New York, 2 locations in New York, and Brazil. And here we are broadcasting. So just the
live
reality,
to the entire world.
What can a writer do and be in this era? What can readers do and be and participate as? It's just such a cool time to be a reader, a fan, a writer, thinkers, collaborative. I can't tell you, and for those watching, how many great ideas are not mine in Ruins of the Galaxy. And they're not Jeff's, and they're not our editors or our proofreaders. They were fans who went. I mean, I remember phone calls with you, David, like coming up with the backstory for the Novia Manouche. I had one idea, and you called me up and gave it a completely different spin. And I still remember where I was in my van on that conversation, and I'm like, that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna change the direction based on one phone call.
Slightly differently. I remember you hemming and hawing about it, and like, I'll get back to you on that one. But
yeah, but I can tell you that what he did was he called me up. He didn't really call me. He actually sent me voice messages through Facebook Messenger, and I was just getting off an airplane from a business trip, and I was sitting beside the driver, the Uber driver, all the way to the hotel that I was going to, sending voice messages back and forth. And I was just thinking that the driver must think that I'm crazy.
That's right. I remember. Okay, you're both helping clarify this. It was just this moment of epiphany that you brought to me, but I didn't realize, yeah, there was some going back and forth. And I felt like actually I had to get clearance from you, Mauricio, and from
Matt.
Matthew Titus, who's in Prague. I think he was the biggest, what's the opposite of proponent? Opponent to the idea. And but I just was like, you know what, this is going to create a really cool species arc and character arc and interaction with the humans and the Jujari and the Novia Manouche, and we'll try not to spoil too much for those who haven't read the series. But really, really cool just to see again how reader interaction, and I mean, again, it doesn't work with every author. I don't think every author can do that or wants to do that, or it's just not their cup of tea. But I'm come from a background that is so collaborative that I love the ideas, and as long as people understand, they may or may not get credit for it. Like, we're just talking. At the end of the day, I have to write the book, but if you're willing to do that and have fun together, let's go for a ride. And to date, I think you both are mentioned in every single Ruins of the Galaxy book that Jeff and I put out. So thank you for your contributions, guys.
You know that I was when I first put together the configuration for this live, I actually had the name as Ricio.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did.
That's cool. Yeah, it's kind of surreal. Like, I should take a little screenshot of this because these are two of the main characters in in the final saga here as we get close to the close of the main story arc. You guys are,
and I do remember,
pretty important icons.
I remember having the conversation with you because, again, so for me, like, I'm definitely an introvert. It's probably hard to tell in this context being live and on video, but I actually am very much a diehard introvert. So being in front of the scenes, even being mentioned in the book, it took a lot of convincing for Christopher for me to allow Christopher to put my name in the book as a character. But yeah, it's definitely been awesome. I can't, like, for my part of it, like, even just being able to contribute, even in a small way, has been huge. I've never had this experience before with an author. It's always just been as a reader, right? And so actually seeing, like, things come to life it's unreal, like, the opportunity, and I don't know, it's just such an amazing experience. So
That's the way I feel out as well. When I got book 3, which was where the character that's got my name on comes into the scene, and Christopher sent me the chapter where the character makes his first appearance beforehand, and he didn't tell me anything about it, so I just kind of picked the thing up to read, and I'm looking at what.
That's fun. Well, I think as an author, it's a gift to be able to surprise people that matter to you, and I've been able to weave a lot of friends and family into the storyline. But it was great to get both of your responses to your entry points, and yes, it's just endearing for me because you've been such wonderful contributors. And I would say, actually, to people that who are readers of works, one of the most wonderful things you can do, aside from buying the book and liking the book and talking about a book, is to try to reach out to the authors. Now, again, we've already kind of touched on, not every author is accessible, nor do they want to be, and that's their prerogative. But for those who are present, man, to get those letters and those emails, oh gosh, it's like, especially in a season like this where people are going through pain and they're going through heartache and stuff's, I don't know, it's rough, right? Life can be rough. To get those points of contact where somebody says, man, your book meant the world to me, or helped me escape. I got one from someone going through chemotherapy. It was like, this is my escape from the pain. Got one from somebody going through a divorce and just saying, this has really helped me through a dark season of my life. I don't think you can put a price tag on that. And so for readers to know, again, for authors who are accessible, let them know. And you'll be surprised. Like, the friendships that have developed. As we stated, David, you and I have been friends for almost 20 years. Mauricio, you and I have been friends for 16 months or so.
Yeah.
And yet I consider you a really close friend, even though we've never met physically.
Yeah.
I'm just so indebted for your insight, your knowledge base, your wisdom, just checking in, like being a regular human being. That's something I could never thank you enough for.
Oh, thanks, Christopher. I have to say that you've been instrumental in my deciding to put up the channel first, and also in pushing me to start writing again. I'm just finishing the 15th book now, and this one isn't really just my book. I'm more of an editor than anything else. I got a few pages in the book, but it's a collaboration of 20 people. But I've always wanted to write science fiction, and I started writing nonfiction because I wanted to write science fiction. I just, the opportunity came up, and I just thought, well, it's a step in the right direction, without really considering that one thing had absolutely nothing to do with the other. So, but I've been thinking about it when you reached out to me and said that you were starting this series, and I thought this is a great opportunity to see how somebody else does it, and it turns out that it is, because we get to see, well, the people that are actually reading the stuff as you write, as you said, we get to see the ways that you didn't take. Because sometimes you come up with something and you change it midway through the book, and you go back and you change that and see, well, yeah, and like you were saying, the backstory that David gave you the idea for the Novia Minouche, it wasn't what it was going to be, but then you liked the idea and you kind of ran with it. So we get to see what is and what might have been as well.
Yeah, so you heard it here, folks. I'm single-handedly responsible for changing an entire story arc. For the better, for the worse, yet to be determined. But
So if you hate what happens to an entire species, it's David Seaman's fault.
I did preface. I'm pretty sure when I came to you with the idea, I prefaced it as pre-coffee thoughts.
Yes, that's true. You did say that. By the way, I want to give a quick shout out to Nathan Jaffrey, who's there. Caleb Baker. Somebody's mic is on the fritz. Yeah, I've been noticing that too. I don't know what the audio issue is there.
Yeah, I noticed it as well.
Is
But
it when we all talk?
I don't know. David, did you say something?
As I put my mic on mute.
It might
be. I hear.
It might be David typing. Could that be it?
No, it's more like a static, kind of intermittent issue going on.
I think it's just the platform.
Yeah, it might be the platform.
We have these things going on overdrive these days because everybody's trying to do something to pass their time at home, and down here in Brazil, we've been seeing music shows broadcast through these streaming platforms for 2-3 million people. So it's getting to be a high load system.
Yeah, bandwidth is a problem for sure.
Might be that.
Yeah. Crazy.
I do have an ear, but Mike. It's still happening as David Smith. Is giving us feedback real time here.
Mauricio, do you have an earbud mic? Caleb asks.
There it is.
Yeah.
So that's.
I hear it when all three of us talk, honestly.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Okay, so it's got to be the platform.
Might be the platform. Unless, Mauricio, and sorry to break the flow of the interview here, unless you want to kick us off and try to re-invite us back in. It might
Oh,
solve it.
it's-
I don't know
If he'll have us.
if
they'll
he'll have us.
Just a second. Everybody out. And here we come back.
So after those important messages from our sponsors,
It actually seems
right.
to be better.
yeah, maybe.
Well,
Yep.
let's see.
I
But
think that's it.
Good
Keep
call,
talking,
Caleb.
guys.
let's get
Yeah.
back on track.
I think that did it.
Yeah, so back to your original question that started this whole thing off was asking for examples. We didn't hear from you or Christopher.
Good point. Touche. I think for me, I'm going to point to the two guys that really inspired me to make the jump into full-time writing. Now, I have a lot of people to thank for that, but specifically Jason Onspach and Nick Cole, the creators and writers of Galaxy's Edge. And that was that when I heard a podcast with them and they were talking about their transition into writing full-time, I remember thinking to myself, man, I want to do that. Like, that's how I want to spend the next several years of my life. And if I could be so fortunate, then I'll have really touched something special. And so whenever I have the chance to pass on the love, those are the first two guys I think of. So Galaxy's Edge was really important. Other works, though, contemporary works, I think of Craig Allison's Expeditionary Force and Skippy,
the
the
Magnificent.
magical beer can. That's incredible stuff. I just have fun. Of course, hearing R.C. Bray read that is exciting, and knowing that he's reading Ruins of the Galaxy, woohoo! Super cool. The Bobaverse, We Are Bob series was really cool and kind of sparked my imagination. Yeah, there's so many. But I think going back into the last century, the greats like Isaac Asimov, George MacDonald, Ray Bradbury, George Orwell, Aldous Huxley, some of the, I don't know, just, of course, J.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis for more of the sci-fi fantasy genre. But yeah, so many incredible people, and just we truly stand on the shoulders of greatness,
Right. That is putting it mildly, because some of these people.
Oh, I lost his audio.
You can't hear me? Oh, wait a second. Let's see now. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Still chattering, clicky, but I can hear you.
Yeah. Well, saying that we're standing on the shoulders of giants, it's putting it mildly, because some of these people were coming up with ideas that you can't really imagine where they took them out of, because the technology was just so far away at that time. And you can see some of that when you read today some of those books, and you see where it reads that you could hear the clacking of the relays in this huge computer. And right now computers haven't had relays for, I don't know, 50 years, and they're not really huge. They're quite small.
We're getting some clicking relays tonight.
Yeah. I guess we might be in the Foundation series.
There you go. How about you, Mauricio? What are favorite books for you?
Recent stuff. Jay Allen's Blood on the Stars series, which is very good, and I believe the last book is about to come out in 1 or 2 months. I think 1 month, and that will round out that series. Also, Ken Lozito's First Colony series is also very good, and he's got a very different approach to the alien technology and the alien civilization thing, which I found very interesting. It was very surprising to me where this series ended up going from where it started. And I think that that is something which is really, really interesting is when no matter how much you've read of what the author has written, he can manage to surprise you by taking the story in a way that, in the direction that you weren't really able to foresee. I think that that's really interesting. That's actually something that you do quite well, because you managed to surprise me quite a few times. When I ended one of the books thinking that, this is the way it's going to go. And when the next book started, it was going that way. So,
well, that's either mad genius or incredible luck. I don't know, maybe a little of both.
well, you know what they say, that of madness and of genius, we all have a little bit of both. So,
They're really close together. It's true. Well, that's a fun part about being a writer is I feel like I get paid to wake up, have some coffee, look out the window, have some quiet time, and then dive into a universe that's in another multiverse, thousands of years in the future, with alien races and incredible stories to tell. I mean, it's really not a job. It's more like this passionate hobby that people pay me to keep doing. So I feel like I have the best job in the world, to be honest.
so talking about your job, Ruins of the Galaxy, how many books will there be in the series?
So there's going to be 9 total. And David is smiling because we've had conversation. He was like, please end it at 9. I think he begged me. Like, don't drag it on. Don't. If you don't have a story to tell, don't drag it on. And he's right, by the way. For those who are watching, for aspiring authors out there, don't drag a series on if you don't need to. If you have a long story to tell, great. But I just realized as I was talking to David, like, yeah, this narrative arc just feels like it's coming to a close. And if I try to do 14, 15 books, not only am I going to hate the writing, but the characters are going to want to fire me, and the readers won't want to buy the books anymore. It's just going to be a train wreck. So I think it falls into that category of leave them wanting more. And 9 books is going to feel great, as I'm actually almost done with book 8 right now. I was working on it hard today. And then, yes, so it's David's fault. I don't know who said that on Facebook there, but it is David's fault.
I'll defend myself.
But I'll let you say, what's that?
I'll defend myself in a second. Go ahead.
All right, yeah. But it is going to wrap nicely. There's going to be, I appreciate the taste in sci-fi comment. Wow. There is going to be a nice completion to the series, and it leaves a lot to be written. I mean, I feel like what Jeff and I have created, and the alpha readers and beta readers and everybody, it's a pretty expansive universe. And that sense of, wow, spin-offs are possible. And we're going to be actually working with some prequels next, which we're going to release later in 2020, which I'm really excited about. Maybe we can talk about those more. We'll see. But it just leaves a lot of room to breathe now, and for other characters to be investigated and other stories to be told. And so, yeah, to answer the question, 9 books will be it. And I'm excited for the final installation. It's going to be epic and beautiful, and I hope to do the characters justice.
Oh. And I can't wait, because I know I contributed a tiny bit maybe towards the ending. Maybe. We'll see. So.
Yes, you did.
Which is why I want to defend myself a little bit, is because I know back to the thing we keep talking about, like this radical story arc that I was responsible for, is the only reason I think I was able to get you to even listen is like, if you do this, it gives you the possibility to write a whole bunch of extra things and gives you all of this backstory potential. And I think that's the only reason you listened to me.
No, there was more wisdom. Yeah, okay. There was more wisdom to it than that. Honestly, it was really true. I don't think I don't like it when authors or directors or any franchise drags things on, because then it feels like, oh, you're just after my money now. Like you've abandoned the story, you've abandoned the art for beauty, and it's just a pain in the butt. So, hey, we got a good question here from Nathan. Do you mind if we field that, Mauricio? Do you see that?
Go ahead.
How does the collaboration work with JN? This is a great question, actually, and one that I love answering because it reveals just how many different ways you can collaborate with other creators. And I've done lots of collaboration, not only in writing but also in music production, and in project development in business. But the two big ways that writers can work together. One is the traditional 50-50 split of writing, where two authors work through the entire outline, plan out the story, and then they divvy up the chapters and write whatever they're keen on. And saying, you take chapters 10 and 11, and I really want to write chapter 21. And then you throw them back and forth without tracking changes at all. You just let the other person have carte blanche. And this goes back and forth probably 5 or 6 times per chapter. By the time you're done, you have this really synthesized amalgamation of both authors' voices. It's really cool in terms of what it produces, because readers shouldn't really be able to tell whose is what, because you both invested so heavily. The downside is it takes a huge amount of time, and we're talking it can take up to a year for one book, and I just don't have that time anymore. So the really cool part working with Jeff is that I get to take the story and, we'll hash through an outline or talk through points, but really it falls in my lap first, and I get to write whatever I want. And that is so freeing, because he's off doing marketing things and business development, where I get to just take first crack. Then that whole manuscript goes to him and to our editing team, and they work through it. And at that point, I almost don't care anymore what's going on. That's not to say my heart isn't invested, but I want them to speak to it. Then when they make all their changes, it comes back to me, and I either prove or correct things. And then once that's done, it goes to our alpha team. So I much prefer this side of collaboration, and it's really more of a partnership, I would say, even than necessarily a co-write, because it allows so much creative freedom, and I'm not beholden to anybody on time other than myself. And so I can produce and write very, very quickly, get out the first finished draft, and then move on into additions, corrections, amendments, and edits.
Can't come.
Yeah.
You got the input from the Mad Hatters. And
Yes.
And then we go about and muck with it.
I'll take this over here and put this over here.
I guess that in the end, that is one of the great things of all the technology that we have. I mean, if you look at it, all the things that we are discussing, they've been made possible by how the technology has evolved and has given us access to this real-time communication, real-time collaboration. Like what we're doing now, not that long ago, it was just the purview of TV networks, and now, without any real affiliation, we can stream live and be watched by people anywhere. And once the thing is over, it will be available on YouTube and will be available on Facebook, and people will still be able to watch it a year from now. And that all just generally costs us nothing. While it used to be something which cost millions, a few years ago. And
or we had lots of random ads popping up in the middle of interviews like this.
Yeah. And the other thing is that the writing itself, the collaboration, as you mentioned, you had to kind of send over the manuscript.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And now you can actually work at the same time as the other person is reading the text.
I can't even imagine having to have been an editor back when things were either handwritten or even on a typewriter, like, and having to like white out and then like retype everything. Like I can't even, and then to go through the whole typesetting process, like unreal.
Yeah, it's insane. I'm so grateful I wasn't born in those eras. But we stand on their shoulders. So
yeah, we
thank
do.
you to all those greats.
Mm-hmm.
So, gentlemen, do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share with your readers and our viewers, other than asking them to subscribe to the channel and give our video a like?
David?
We have another comment here.
I think my comment is kind of like what I've already said. It's been absolutely amazing to work with Christopher and just to be a tiny bit involved. Like, so I guess my comment is that for people out there who are like, oh, I could never be an author, or have no desire to be an author, right? But enjoy reading. I guess my comment is this, because I firmly believe that I don't know. In some ways, this is awesome. I'm able to use some of my creative gifts and give them to Christopher, and in such a way that I know I have zero gifting or ability to write a book, but I'm still able to influence and to be part of the process that is so amazing. And so it's not. Well, I have occasionally an okay idea. It's actually being able to build upon others' ideas, and that's pretty awesome. And it's really like what Christopher is. I guess I'll sum up by saying what Christopher said earlier. For the authors that are open to it, do reach out, because it's a very cool experience. So.
Well, I for one am very grateful for your contributions.
Whoa, Christopher kind of fell
across the floor. That was my sandal on my cable. I think I'd close by just saying how grateful I am for people like the both of you and those who are watching, because if they've made it this far, they're definitely sci-fi fans. And I owe my success to the contributions of very generous people, very smart people. Mauricio, early on, I was really wondering, am I cut out for this? Kind of throwing it up in the air and hoping it landed somewhere meaningful. And you were one of the very first people to say, man, I think you've got something. Like, I think you're going to be a great science fiction writer. You were one of the very first people. I'd say there are probably 5. My wife was the first. My buddy Shane Maroff, who lives here in our city, who's told me to write science fiction for years. And you were probably like number 3, I think, to say, Christopher, you're going to be an incredible science fiction writer. And I was in the midst of a midlife crisis. I didn't know which way was up in my life. I was in the darkest season of my life. And honestly, I really had if I didn't believe you were so sincere, I would say you're full of it. But you were adamant, and I could tell there was some sincerity. And based on how much you've read, that was another big thing. Like, I knew you weren't blowing smoke up my dress. Like, you were being real. And I can't thank you enough for speaking into my life, and for giving me the courage and boost I needed to continue to move forward. Both you guys have been really a support to me and encouraged me as a writer, and I credit both of you for a lot of the success that I'm experiencing today. So thank you for who you are and your friendship.
Well, that's a nice note to end, but I'm not going to end.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah, there's one more thing now. It's just that I have to comment on this. The reason why I was adamant that you would be a great science fiction writer was very simple. You remember that I used to tell you that your books were too short. but they weren't too
Yes.
short. They just kind of were over too quickly. And it gave you the idea that, this thing is just too short, but then you look at the word count, and it isn't short at all. So how come it's over? I mean, where's the rest of it?
Christopher and I had
David, you said the
that
same
same
thing.
conversation. He had to he was like, no, look, you're used to epic sci-fi where it's traditionally a lot longer. He's like, this is space science fiction. It's shorter.
But this is
Really?
this is 100,000 words, guys.
It is.
I
That's
promise.
the thing.
And we read it in an entire night. And so we're
Yeah.
like,
Yes, I hate you for it too.
I mean, I would start reading this thing, and all of a sudden it would be over. I was saying, there's no way this thing can be over. I mean, the story hasn't even started yet. This is just too short. And then I would look up the word count, and it was longer than most of the books that I've been reading recently.
I can't remember if it was one or book two, but I remember sending you the message, Christopher. It was like, I hate you. You finished the book and left it at the cliffhanger.
Yeah. True story.
So I guess that's my end comment.
Thanks, man.
And
Thank you.
and it is an amazing thing to have been part of Ruins of the Galaxy so far. I look forward to whatever else you're going to write after Ruins of the Galaxy, as well as the end of the series, of course. I think since I had all this trouble to put it together, let's chop David up a little bit and get us into another view so that I can actually put on screen for everybody that's still with us so far.
We're camera challenged. We can't.
Whoa! Look at that.
Sweet.
There you go. There is
That
the
is too
entire
cool.
Ruins of the Galaxy series so far.
I gotta go to there. We can get the naked monkey butt in there too.
That's really cool. Wait, I got to take a screenshot of this. This is great.
The other thing is that this is the first that we're doing. I'm sure that we'll do others. I've already started putting out my invitations for other writers to join in the conversation here. And I think that this is, it's not just general talk. I think there's a lot of things that will be interesting to discuss with everybody that I hope will accept the invitation to join us. So,
Well, you're going to have much more well-known authors, people who have sold way more books and written many more books than me. But I and David get to say that we were your first guests. So I think that's all that really matters at the end of the day.
well, it couldn't be any other way, Christopher. You were a moving force behind this. So it couldn't have been any other way.
Shout out to Matthew too. And so we do need to try and get all four of us together. So I do want to give a shout out to him as well.
Well,
Yep.
we need to do this at a time when he's awake.
Yes. And by the way, I just had two people make mention. One of the reasons we might be experiencing some crazy lag as well as the audio issues is it is Good Friday, which for the Judeo-Christian world, who is locked inside, they are streaming their services. Probably, this is going to be the most streamed weekend in the history of humanity, because the most attended Sunday for church services in the year is going to be online. So it's begun. It's chaos right now.
For sure. So we'll end up here. Well, we have a last comment for John Bliss. I think he's saying that your books are too long.
So, to John's note, real quick, this is a great closing point. Is I know now from working with the audio industry and the professionals behind the audiobooks that 14 hours is like an ideal length, and they have the metrics and math on that, and so that works out to be about 120,000 words to reach 14 hours. And so when you have Ruins of the Galaxy books that are long, but they're not coming in at 120. They're more like 100 to 105,000. They have to add on some extra tidbits. So in the book that is coming out April 28th from Podium Audio, narrated by R.C. Bray, reading Jeff and my work, the really cool part is that we've added 2 novellas at the end. A short story called Night of Fire, and the other one Demons at War. But there's also, this is the coolest thing, it's the blooper reel, and it's R.C. Bray and his bloopers from reading. That's attached at the end. I have an author note that's at the end. So we're just trying to, give more bang for the buck. But the reason that you'll see 2 books in one Audible book is because a lot of sci-fi is down there around 60 to 75,000 words. And so they have to put 2 books together, or else you're only getting a 7 or 8 hour Audible click for your credit, and those don't convert well. So that's why they do that. And I'm just glad we didn't have to put 2 books together. We're just giving you more stuff that you can only get on the Audible version. So pretty fun.
We get an extra preview of what's coming.
Yes.
That's pretty much what you're saying. You're telling
Pretty
us
much.
what's coming up. Yeah. So that's April 28th, right?
April 28th. Ruins of the Galaxy Book 1 on Audible.
So
Read by R.C. Bray, which is, really cool.
Pre-order at ruinsofthegalaxy.com.
All right. So thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us. If you stayed with us so far, and there are a number of people that have stayed with us so far, do please subscribe to the channel so that you can get notified of what's coming up next. And we'll have other live streams with other authors, and you will also, unfortunately, have to bear with me when I talk about science fiction just by myself.
One of the smartest guys I know right there. Also, David Seaman, you get the award tonight for having the coolest backgrounds of anybody. Not only the cover of, what was that, cover of book 4, I think, and you have the naked monkey butt screensaver. So you worked your magic with green screen, but it looks incredible. So
It does. I mean, it doesn't seem like he's got the green screen at all.
I know, it looks natural.
All right, so we'll wrap it up here then. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
See you in
Mauricio.
the next stream.
See you in the ruins.